Gary Krasner off the case. It's like, yo, Bob, nobody was asking for your advice here. And, and once again, they interjected themselves. When I say they, I mean that court. Thus, let me just say this one thing, and I'll you know, stop here. A number of years ago, before I had gray hairs, probably, I came up with this phrase called the Mumia exception. And what I meant was that in court rulings, the law says the law, right? If you put all white people on a jury and you purposely exclude black people from the jury, you should get a new trial, just like in Mumia's case, but it didn't happen. It happened in scores of other people, but it didn't happen in Mumia's case. So you can go down one, two, three, four, five, down 22, because he had 22 claims of appeals that were just rejected. All of those could have given relief, but it didn't. So why is the law not the law in the Mumia case, where it means that except? The law means this, except in Mumia's case. Right. We won't apply it, or right, we'll bend it to make sure that it doesn't apply to him, or we'll just break it and we'll create some new stuff. Yeah, yesterday we said X, Y, and Z. Today in the Mumia case, X, Y, and Z doesn't apply. And then tomorrow, X, Y, and Z will apply forevermore after this. It's just nuts. And this opinion in many ways is the same way. But in the bottom line is now it takes the case back to where it was, where it's been delayed for a year. Abu Jamal, a judge in Philadelphia, said that he has a fundamental right to appeal for something we could talk about later. And then since that happened, the district attorney found 6 boxes of material that has evidence in it that really should require not only a new trial at the very least, but opening up the door of the jailhouse and letting him out, because this was like fundamental violations of his rights. And as they've done in a couple of cases where they've let people directly off of death row, they say that to try this person again would be a violation of constitutional rights. Right. And then, would make a mockery of justice. So to restore our faith in the justice system and correct this injustice, we'll let this person off of death row, except Mumia. You can't get out.
I decided not to talk to WHYY, Annette John Hall, reason they're preparing an obituary for Mumia. Mumia is not dead. He's very much alive. And that's how we intend to keep him. And every bit of this information that people have that we've given you is very important. We have the newspaper here. Can somebody hand me a Jamal Journal? We have the Jamal Journal here. This is something that Mumia, it's a paper he had some years ago, and we brought it back out. This first edition is an edition that gives you the evidence of Mumia's innocence. It gives you the evidence of police, judicial, and prosecutorial misconduct. Evidence that you can take anywhere and present it to people. We're working now, and because since last people, when y'all was here a week ago, right out here, Mumia called in. We didn't know at that particular time that Mumia had been in the hospital, and he was in the hospital 4 days. Soon after that, and what he said, he had COVID, he had congested heart failure, and I'm explaining from how Dr. Ricardo Alvarez said, this is very, very dangerous. And again, NPR and WHYY, they preparing a obituary for Mumia. Somebody got one of them pictures in case people out there haven't seen them. Could you come over with one? No, yes, stand right here beside me so that he can see it. Anybody got the picture of Mumia, what he looked like before they start doing this? This is Mumia when he came off of death row, when we won that battle. I'm saying Mumia was on death row for 30-something years. And Mumia had colds. He had little minor things that we all get, and all. But what happened? Okay. So no, stay there, Jen. Yeah. So this is Mumia. Then when Mumia came off of death row, Maureen Faulkner said they're gonna see to it that Mumia burn in hell on death row. He'll get his just due. We talking about an innocent man, a proven innocent man. And if he was guilty, that ain't his fucking just due. Um, this is pictures of Mumia. I guess it was a couple weeks ago. What you see here in Mumia's legs is over his entire body, his back, his underarms. There's not a crack anywhere that is not like that. If you got the close up on Mumia's face, you see he still had that problem there, but it grows all over. You know, all over Mumia's back is those sores. They're not as big as that, but I want to explain to you what you're looking at right here. You see that mark there? That's one leg. The other leg look exactly like that. Mumia's wrist look exactly like that. That came from being shackled down for 4 days, 24 hours, unless they sat him in a chair. And remember, his whole body looks like this, so it's painful. Mumia says he's burning the fire. This is 24 hours, 7 days a week, every second, every minute. As we're standing here putting this information out to each and every last person, please, anybody who see this, please get in contact with people and let them know. They must get with their elected officials. They must get into these churches. I want to ask people, I don't know where Reverend Barbie's at, but he got a whole lot of clout. I don't know where what's the man, Mr. Claiborne's at. He got a whole lot of clout. When you say Black Lives Matter, well, damn it, here's the proof. No, the hell it don't. No, it don't. Because what you see here happening to Mumia, it happens in these prisons damn near 7 days a week to not only Mumia, but they go an extra thing for Mumia because they want to satisfy the beast, the FOP, greed for a black man that wouldn't bow down, that wouldn't step back, and kept confronting him from the bowels of death row. Brick by brick, wall by wall, we're going to free Mumia, Abu Jamal. Brick by brick, wall by wall, we're going to free Mumia, Abu Jamal. Wall by wall, we're going to free Mumia, Abu Jamal. Wall by wall, we're going to free Mumia, Abu Jamal. Say what? Yeah, we're going to free Mumia. Yeah, brick by brick, wall by wall, we're going to free Mumia, Abu Jamal. Come on now, brick by brick, wall by wall, we're going to free Mumia, Abu Jamal.
Brick by brick, wall by wall, we're free Mumia, Abu Jamal. Brick by brick, wall by wall.
Brick by brick.
We gonna free Abu Jamal.
Wall by motherfucking wall.
Mumia will be free. Mumia will be free.
Mumia will be free.
Mumia will be free.
Mumia will be free.
Mumia will be free.
Mumia will be free.
Mumia will be free.
Mumia will be free.
All political prisoners.
Free all political prisoners.
All political prisoners. Mumia will be free.
Mumia will be free.
Okay.
Ashe.
So I wanted to sort of edit that video to give background for people who are not familiar with the case, not familiar with how far the case has come, and then have not seen those pictures of Mumia, and have not had a chance to hear Pam Africa and others speak about the details around it. It's heartbreaking, honestly. even when she does these side by side pictures of what he looked like after death row, being on death row for 30 something years, and then what he looks like now. It's proof, like visual proof, that they are actively trying to kill Mumia. And I do appreciate that Pam Africa was able to say it's not just Mumia. Those prisons are doing that to, you know, all of us who end up in there, but they want to make an example of Mumia specifically in these times. Also, Johanna talked about about Krasner, right? Um, Krasner's full of shit. Krasner's as full of shit as all prosecutors are. There's no such thing as a progressive prosecutor. So I want to invite Nana to discuss that some more. Nana, you want the floor?
Yeah, I think they talked about it a little bit on I Mix What I Like or Black Power Media, the clip. But I think this concept of progressive prosecutor really is a co-optation of the abolition movement, right? So you see a lot of energy around, abolishing the police. You see a growing prison abolition movement, right? A lot of folks have been in interviews at growing, younger generation of folks who are uplifting Mumia and other political prisoners. And then you have folks like Larry Krasner, whoever else, co-opting language, right? Saying that we're not going to be tough on crime, we're going to be smart on crime, or we're going to deprioritize some things, right? So it was like, oh, we're going to stop cash bail, right? That's like the about 2017, I think it was summer of 2017. uh Southerners on group New Ground song, uh the movement for Black Lives at the time, and other folks did a Black Mama's bailout, right? So there was a big push to do Black Mama's bailout on Mother's Day of 2017 in order to highlight the ways in which Black caretakers, Black mothers, are also criminalized in the system, and also uplift the narrative around ending cash bail, which was popularized around Khalif Browder. And so after this, Black Mama's Bail, there's all this push. There's a lot of push around like ending cash bail. So then you see a lot of prosecutors or people running as prosecutors who were formerly defense attorneys or formerly whatever they were in their life, pushing this. But once he said he was ending cash bail, literally people were in court the next day. People were still being held on bail, right? He said he was going to deprioritize arrest around guns, or everything that he promised, it literally got reshuffled to something else. So you can see that, oh, another agency is dealing with this, or oh, they're being criminalized in this way. And so we really have to be cautious about the co-optation of these movements, because also these progressive prosecutor races have grabbed a lot of movement energy, right? Because people are like, okay, maybe if we could just beat this prosecutor or get this prosecutor in, it'll be good for us. But Larry Krasner has literally been fighting tooth and nail to not free Mumia, right? And they, again, co-optation, there's no such thing as a progressive prosecutor. There's not going to be anything such as a progressive prosecutor, because at the end of the day, your job as a prosecutor is to put people in jail. That's literally your job. Your job is to put people in jail, and the only way you can put people in jail is by collaborating with police. And you need police to be on the stand for all your cases to be considered a good prosecutor. You need the evidence from police, right? That's police statements, the fabricated police statements that has Mumia in jail and has in prison, and all folks in prison. And so yeah, just cautioning around this usage of people running for prosecutor as a strategy is only going to suck our energy as movements, and then re-entrench, because again, sorry, I'm like going in circles, but like Larry Krasner was also seen as this enemy towards the police union, right? This enemy towards Republicans, this outsider. But again, he went in and did the same shit. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think that what you just stated about how he's seen, that's I think he's able to still play to the left, because he's seen as progressive despite what he's actually not doing. Again, I like to remind folks, I what 2018, I went to Philadelphia and had Mumia people there, and I remember I had a button about Larry Krasner dropping the appeal. So I was so overwhelmed and like overjoyed to know that the appeal was coming, so he was able to get one. And then to know that in the last year, especially, that Larry Kreisner has gone out of his way, like gone out of his way to stop to stop Mumia from seeing the outside, to stop Mumia from getting home, really speaks back to the issue with progressive prosecutor. But then again, Philadelphia is not the only city, right? I see people in the chat are shouting out Boston. I know here in Baltimore, everybody who knows me knows I'm on a straight fuck Marilyn Mosby campaign from now until forever. She like I don't do Marilyn Mosby, but Nana also made a great point about the way that the prosecutor races drain energy, right? Because we did spend a lot of time trying to get Marilyn Mosby off the bench, and a lot of the things that have self criticism about is the ways that the ways prosecutor races run anyway, right? It's the we if we understand the prosecutors are cops, and then we understand that they work within the police force and they work within the police system, then it makes sense that their races are who's going to lock up more people. That's what a prosecutor race is always down to. She says she's not going to lock up as many as he did, so she's progressive. But at the end of the day, that is their job. And prosecutors also have what is the word that I'm looking for? They don't really have any accountability mechanisms, right? They are allowed to do whatever they want to do, essentially. And we see that from city to city. But I think what I find also interesting, and I think you did note that, is that Larry Krasner, and that is the route that all of these progressive prosecutors are taking. It's coming in from defense attorneys. So they are stopping from defending the people to then being on the opposition of the people. And I think that was worth noting. But yeah, fuck all prosecutors, and especially fuck Larry Krasner. So I want to invite people to talk about in this moment how they've come to know Mumia for like the next 10 minutes or so. We could discuss how they come to know Mumia, what Mumia means to them, and I'm gonna put the questions in the chat too, and how they can see themselves moving this forward to getting him home. So if you want, I guess you could just unmute. I was gonna say go on stack, but it's like a lot of y'all, so y'all could just unmute. Actually, I want to call somebody out. Matter of fact, because I know somebody in this right now who works closely in Philadelphia around all of this. Yane is in here. Yane, if you want to say just briefly a few words about what's
you just give me 1 second, I'll be right back.
No problem, love. But Yane is also with Black Philly Radical Collective, and that is, I think, Move 9 is a part of that as well. The Move 9 is part of that, as well as Black Lives Matter Philly. So they do. I know they did what is it, like not a press conference, but some sort of like a teach-in about what's happening currently with him. Maybe last week. But until Yane comes back, I'll still open the floor if you want to unmute and say something.
Can I just say, like, I was gonna write Mumia, but then I was talking to someone and they were like, Jay, if you write them, he probably won't get it and he won't be able to read it because he's so sick. And this is back in November. And it just really hurts that people have kept sharing the story of him being sick for so long, and every time it hurts even more. So yeah, thanks for the space, Erica and Nana.
Yes, and there's no shortage of ever sitting stuff to folks inside, right? It's like part of it is to connect with folks inside, and also is building power so that folks who are getting the mail, right, they may steal the mail, they may throw away the mail, but they know that people are watching and they know that people are paying attention. And so I think um, whenever you have opportunities or time, it's always good to write folks, to put money on folks, to connect with folks. But yeah, I think folks oftentimes, like, it's always meaningful. So I appreciate you for bringing that up, Jay, because like even, I think Alexis said in the chat that this is like spiritual warfare, right? They're speaking death onto Mumia and Black folks. And so what does it mean for us to speak life and organize as though, as it is true that, Mumia will be free?
When was it? I think it was 2018 too. I did write Mumia and it was sent back. Because at the time, the entire Pennsylvania prison system was having all of their mail forwarded to Florida, and then sent back to Philadelphia correctional facilities, or Pennsylvania correctional facilities. I don't know if anybody recalls, whoever's deep in the abolition movement, that powder stuff that they were finding in letters, where they decided that it was something significant enough to stop mail. And then also, I'm glad that you mentioned that, Jelani, because right now Biden is looking to extend Trump's proposed bill of ending mail to federal prisoners. He's extending that, so we're going to have a lot more issues with being able to contact our people on the inside, especially our political prisoners. So this is something that we need to pay more attention to, and probably actively fight, like with all hands on deck.
Erica, I typed someone out a letter. Like I typed on a document, printed it out, and then I wrote in different markers "Happy New Year" with a heart. They rejected it, right? They said it wasn't a blue or black gel ink pen. They were like, "Oh, this could be a weapon, or this could hurt someone." And then you had like a short number of days to appeal that, written to the warden, of course, right? And so the homie said he had to forward that letter to his relative and then get it back. So it's like, for a marker on a piece of paper, you rejected my letter, and I couldn't talk to them for a month because they were in the hole. Like, come on.
Yeah, it's a bunch of bullshit. But I will say, if you are going to write, like, look up the prison, like Google the institution that they're at, because every institution is different. Some only allow 3x5 cards. Some you can write a full letter. Some are very specific about colored ink and colored paper and shit like that, because it's pettiness and bullshit. But they want to discourage you from writing and contacting, and that's how we know that that's how it's a significant thing, right? Because they're making all of these blocks in the ways that we are able to connect with our people on the inside. So Yane is back. Yane, if you want to say a few things.
Hey, sure. First, I just want to appreciate you both for organizing this. I think that it's really important for people to be really educated and informed as it relates to this case. It's a really key case and an important case. We have quite a number of individuals who are imprisoned because of their politics. The way that Mumia's case is handled is a good example for us to study, to understand this system, and the way that it criminalizes resistance, and particularly Black resistance, and at all costs, and with no let up. And in particular, as it relates to Mumia, is really important because Mumia's voice is so significant and so important. One of the things that that is key to Mumia, and also John Africa, and a lot of people don't recognize and understand the strong relationship and connection between Move and Mumia. That their relationship, they're not related simply in the fact that you had so many individuals from Move who were in prison because of their politics, and then you also had Mumia in prison, and that they were both from Philadelphia, but they were actually absolutely connected and have been connected. They are family, and actually Mumia wanted John Africa, who was murdered in the bombing that happened on May 13th, 1985. Mumia wanted John Africa to be the person who represented him. John Africa actually represented himself in this extremely criminal justice system, and won his freedom in the justice system. And so, the advocacy for the Move 9, which were recently released, and those who survived, who were not murdered in prison, who did not die in prison, is completely connected to and was a part of the advocacy for Mumia. And actually, recently, the city of Philadelphia offered an apology to Move for the bombing. And of course, we all know that that apology does not bring back John Africa. It does not bring back Tree Africa. It does not bring back Little Phil Africa. It does not change the impact it had on Ramona or Birdie. Even though they survived, it doesn't change the impact that it had on Phil, who was in prison, whose child was in the house, who was bombed, on Janet, whose child was bombed, on Mike, who was blocks away and watched the smoke rising from his house while he was playing just blocks away, and has to think about his friends and basically his family who had that bomb dropped on them, and has to overcome that and has to try to still shine his spirit of love and beauty in this world after seeing what it was that was done to his family members. It doesn't change any of that. Yet they have not given anything but this apology. They have not given any consequences. There has not been any accountability. And what Move wants is Mumia. And what Move says is apologies without action are meaningless, and the action that Move is seeking is Mumia. And that's one person who now is at later stages of his life and not in good health, to be returned to the community in exchange, in recognition, because it's not an exchange, but in recognition of the 11 lives, including 5 children, who were murdered. And when that bomb was dropped, when that fire was left to burn, and when police officers were shooting in that alley anytime anyone tried to escape the burning inferno. They said that there was a child's arm with a fist raised found in the rubble after that fire was finally stopped and they went back in there. And so that spirit of revolution is important, and that is the reason why Mumia is so targeted. But also, I just want to mention that one thing that John Africa and Mumia had in common was not only their ability to analyze the system and to communicate that analysis, but to communicate it in a way that's really plain and clear for the people. So when you have an individual who has that kind of revolutionary analysis, who is able to make it so that anybody can understand it, they're not legalese you, they're just really making it extremely plain. That makes a person like Mumia extraordinarily dangerous to this system, and that is the reason why they are pushing to withhold his freedom for all of these years. So and understanding like we talked about the way that the police district there during Rizzo's time, it was it's the same police force. It's the same criminal police force that went in, and after going into and if you watch the documentary about what happened on August 8th and the fight to release the Move 9 after what happened on August 8th in 1978, when the police were working to evict Move off of Powelton and out of Move headquarters. And as soon as they got them out of there, they actually destroyed the house in order to destroy all of the evidence that would actually, you would think that if you believe that these individuals are guilty, that you would want all evidence so that you don't have anything that will get in the way. But instead, they destroyed the house and destroyed the key source of evidence, that will be used in order to go against the individuals that they were prosecuting. And they did that also knowing that the prosecutorial process is not just, and that they would get what they wanted regardless. And that's the exact same scenario that Mumia was being subject to. And there's no acknowledgement or recognition of that even today, while people are while people are asserting that they believe Mumia is actually guilty, the reality is if you really believe that, then you should not be afraid of there being an actual real trial. You should actually recognize, you should want it so that this question can be laid to rest. But they don't want the question to be laid to rest, because if it's laid to rest, it has to be laid to rest with justice. And justice is only going to happen if Mumia is set free. And when Mumia is set free, and they don't actually want justice. They just like to speak those words. So I really appreciate that people are here. It's very, people all. I'm here in Philadelphia, and it's true that I'm close to this issue, but people all over the world love Mumia. People have been fighting for years and even for decades from places, and from places all over the world. And so, um, for more and more people to become informed, for more and more people to know what the truth is, so that we can advocate together, so that we can advocate with intelligence, is really important. And so having something like this really is meaningful, and also to communicate to Mumia, for Mumia to always be able to hear our voices and to always know he shows up for us. He calls in quite often when we organize events. He shows up for us, but he's motivated and inspired because he knows that we continue to fight and that we have not forgotten him and we have not left us behind. And Mumia teaches us that all prisoners are political prisoners. And so fighting for Mumia is also fighting for the abolition of all prisons, because there are so many people who are to the left of him and to the right of him who do not deserve to be there. There are people who are revolutionary and radical, and there are people who are not, but none of them deserve to be there. And so the way that we honor Mumia is by fighting to release all prisoners and to end all prisons and all of these carceral systems. So I just am grateful. I appreciate it. And, I'm going to see if I can make a phone call, and if I can, I'll just drop a little something in there to see if I can get another voice of appreciation in here. But I do appreciate all of you for your efforts, and I just want to encourage you to write to as many people that you can. Not only Mumia, definitely Mumia, but not only Mumia. There are so many individuals who really count on connecting with us on the outside, and who need those words of encouragement. When they are sick, I've had many comrades who have been diagnosed with COVID, and they just need to hear from us. They need to know that we're here. So, if you can set aside a time with regularity, whether it's once a month or once a week, to just write some letters and send things to people so that they know that they really have family on the outside, that's really wonderful, great, and appreciated too. Want to move.
On the move. Thank you so much. I want to open the floor for another 5 minutes to allow other people to just talk about, what Mumia means to them, why this case is so impactful for them, and what they intend to do moving forward, because this shouldn't be it. We can't stop at just this one thing. Until he is free, we got to keep campaigning and keep making noise around it. So if you want to share, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hey y'all, this is Alexis. I'm kind of in transit, so sorry to not have my camera on or anything. And thank you to everyone who has created the space and contributed to it. Along the lines of what I said in the chat earlier around this being spiritual warfare, I really think one thing that I'm going to do moving forward is have a daily space in the morning just to do some meditation on Mumia's health and his freedom and the health and freedom of all incarcerated folks via Zoom. So I'll definitely put my email in the chat if anybody wants to join/contribute, but I think it's important that we keep speaking life and freedom over these folks consistently and with fervor.
Thank you, Alexis. Yeah, reading his writing is so important. I actually Zion moved my book, but I was gifted at my book event Have Black Lives Ever Mattered? And that is actually the first Mumia book. I know I'm like 5 or 6 books behind because that man wrote and wrote and wrote. And that's another thing that makes him such a danger or a threat. What he has done with prison journalism, how he expanded it, prison radio by itself. Yes. This is a 3-part series that Yane has, Murder Incorporated. I think the third one just dropped this year, right? It's like recently just dropped. But it talks about the entire US empire and how it's manifested and what it does and so but yeah, you see how thick that book is and imagine having to write that from jail. You ain't typing nothing. Like so and there's 3 of them. So yeah, so I feel like he's an impactful person. So if you have not read any of his writings, please do. Um, yeah, because he's remarkable. Does anyone else want to jump in and say something for the one last person? Go ahead. If not, I'm going to start to wrap up with an announcement and another audio from Mumia.
I got a short thing.
Oh, okay.
Um, but I think we were kind of talking about this before, but his ability to just to connect with people, especially through radio, I think is what initially drew me to him. Because there's there's so many like would be radicals and stuff who can't seem to talk to the people, who can't talk to the people they're claiming to liberate. But Mumia Mumia is not that way at all. Like what he says is just so true. And I mean, like you were saying before, that's exactly what makes him so dangerous, but that's what makes me respect and care for him so much.
Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so I wanted to close this out with an announcement about tomorrow afternoon. At noon tomorrow, if you are in the DC or DMV, Maryland area, come down to the OAS building, the Organization of American States. We will be down there showing solidarity for what's happening in Haiti. And also, if you are in the Chicago area, you can go down to the Haitian consulate around 2:30, and there will be folks there protesting. And I do believe Dr. CBS will be in the Chicago one, and No Name as well. She keeps promoting it, saying, "Come see me down there." So I'm assuming she'll be there. But if you just go down there and support Haiti. And I'm going to end this with sharing the information of where the addresses are and with Mumia talking about the importance of Haiti.
Erica,
Yes.
really
Oh, you
quickly.
have it? You ready?
I'm not well. What Pam asked me just to offer some words. So I spoke to Pam and let Pam know that this was happening. And so Pam just asked me to just say to everyone that she loves you and she appreciates you. She's proud of you for coming together in this way. And she said that Mumia, of course, will appreciate this as well. And so, she just, Pam is not feeling well at the moment. So she has a headache and her blood pressure is a little bit high. So that's why she wasn't able to actually join the call, but she was very, very pleased to learn about it. And I told her about the activities in the video, and she really appreciated that. And she asked me to make sure that I said some words on her behalf. And so just wanted to do that and, and offer her love. And so wanted to say that and on a move.
Thank you. And that's another reason why it's so important to get Mumia home so that Pam African could have some peace. And she has, she has been on this since the very beginning, and she has made sure all of her siblings are home, and Mumia is really the last one. Um, so yeah, so I'm going to now share. Hold on. First, I gotta get my clip ready.
Okay, here we go. As my mama used to say, that now we're cooking with Crisco here. Black August 2004 for Kilo Nyasha. The Honorable Frederick Douglass, former U.S. Minister to Haiti, among other things, said back in January of 1893 the following. Among these large bodies, the little community of Haiti, anchored in the Caribbean Sea, has had her mission in the world, and a mission which the world had much need to learn. She has taught the world the danger of slavery and the value of liberty. In this respect, she has been the greatest of all our modern teachers, he said. It was a sweaty, steaming night in August when a group of African captives gathered in the forest of Mont Rouge in Le Cap, Saint-Domingue. It was August 1791. Among these men was a voodoo priest, Papalois Boukman, who preached to his brethren about the need for revolution against the cruel slave drivers and torturers who made the lives of the African captives a living hell. His words, spoken in the common tongue of Creole, would echo down the annals of history and cannot fail but move us today, 213 years later. He said, "The God who created the sun, which gives us light, who rouses the waves and rules the storm, though hidden in the clouds, he watches us. He sees all that the white man does. The God of the white man inspires him with crime, but our God calls upon us to do good works. Our God, who is good to us, orders us to revenge our wrongs. He will direct our arms and aid us. Throw away the symbol of the God of the whites, who has so often caused us to weep, and listen to the voice of liberty, which speaks in the hearts of us all." The rebellion of August 1791 would eventually ripen into the full-fledged Haitian Revolution, lead to the liberation of the African Haitian people, to the establishment of the Haiti Republic, and the end of the dreams of Napoleon for a French-American empire in the West. 2 centuries before the revolution, when the island was called Santo Domingo by the Spanish Empire, historian Antonio de Herrera would say of the place, quote, "There is so many Negroes in this island as a result of the sugar factories that the land seems an effigy or an image of Ethiopia itself," unquote. Haiti was the principal source of wealth for the French bourgeoisie. In the decade before the Boukman Rebellion, an estimated 29,000 African captives were imported to the island annually. Conditions were so brutal and the work was so backbreaking that the average African survived only 7 years in horrific sugar factories. In 1804, Haiti declared independence after defeating what was the most powerful army of the day, the Grand Army of France. Haiti's founding father, Jean-Jacques Dessalines, at the Haitian Declaration of Independence proclaimed, quote, "I have given the French cannibals blood for blood. I have avenged America," unquote. With their liberation, Haitians changed history, for among their accomplishments, 1, it was the first independent nation in Latin America. 2, it became the second independent nation in the Western Hemisphere. 3, it was the first Black republic in the modern world. And 4, it was the only incident in world history of an enslaved people breaking their chains and defeating a powerful colonial force using military might. What did independence bring? It brought the enmity and anger of the Americans, who refused to recognize their southern neighbor for 58 years. In the words of South Carolina Senator Robert Hayne, the reasons for U.S. non-recognition were clear. He said, "Our policy with regard to Haiti is plain. We never can acknowledge her independence. The peace and safety of a large portion of our union forbids us even to discuss it." In many ways, Black August, at least in the West, begins in Haiti. It is the blackest August possible, revolution and resultant liberation from bondage. For many years, Haiti tried to pass the torch of liberty to all of her neighbors, providing support for Simón Bolívar in his nationalist movements against Spain. Indeed, from its earliest days, Haiti was declared an asylum for escaped slaves and a place of refuge for any person of African or American Indian descent. On January 1st, 1804, President Dessalines would proclaim, "Never again shall colonist or European set foot on this soil as master or landowner. This shall henceforward be the foundation of our Constitution." It would be U.S., not European imperialism that would consign the Haitian people to the cruel reign of dictators. The U.S. would occupy Haiti and impose their own rules and dictates. After their long and hated occupation, Haitian anthropologist Ralph Triot would say it improved nothing and complicated almost everything. Yet that imperial occupation does not wipe out the historical accomplishments of Haiti. During the darkest nights of American bondage, millions of Africans in America, in Brazil, in Cuba, and beyond could look to Haiti and dream. For Black August, this is Mumia Abu Jamal. These commentaries are produced by Noel Hanrahan for Prison Radio.
And I want to end with the details on how you can contact Mumia. Again, this is if you are in DC or Chicago, please be sure to get this information down. But for the purpose of this teaching, this is how you contact Larry Krasner and Tom Wolfe. And Tom Wolfe is on here especially because they were supposed to be letting people out of jail because of the COVID thing, and they seemingly are letting everyone out but except Mumia, and now Mumia has COVID. So that is how you can reach them both. Take your phone screenshot, and then it also has a sample email template for you so that you can know what to write. Also, there are telephone numbers. Blow their asses up first thing in the morning, and continue to do so all week. I know Krasner, as of Thursday, has been full, but he gotta check his messages someday. So keep calling. And I want to thank you all for joining. Nana and myself, I felt that this was something that I really needed to do, not just for Mumia, but just for, I think in the sphere of activism that we're doing. We all know one or two people who are facing some repercussions from last summer. And they, we understand Josh Williams is still locked up. I mean, we have a current examples of things that they are doing to create new Mumias and new Jamil Alamins and new Russell Maroon Schultz and and new Jalil Mutakin. So they are intentional. We see with the militarized police forces and the unaddressed federal funding of policing, that this is something that will continue. And the more that we try to agitate and organize against this, that this is also part of our reality as well, that this could be something that we are faced with. So we need to support not just Mumia, but like Yane said, we need to support all prisoners. We need to really, truly invest in a true abolition movement and not one that's so easily co-opted. Or if it is co-opted, we better freaking learn how to get the reins back and organize to get the reins back, because I don't think that that's impossible. But again, thank you. None, if you have last words, please share.
No, just Mumia will be free.
Mumia will be free.
Mumia will be free.
Mumia will be free.
Mumia will be free. Folks can come off mute if you want.
Mumia will be free.
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 Period.
Thank you all. I'm going to. Oh,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Death row didn't use any inflammatory
I could be here all day with you.
Erica, nice to see you.
Thank you, Jelani, for coming.
Good
Jackie,
job.
did you yeah, we should debrief. No, not here, but we'll probably do it in the chat. I was looking for music to play. Look at
Hey, Zion.
say hi to Yane.
Hey, Amen.
Hey, baby. How are you?
I go to B.
What's that?
You say?
Yeah.
You got cold feet?
Telephones?
Yeah, but where is?
What are you playing?
The cell phone now.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And the mommy phone.
Yeah, give me my phone. All right.
Hey,
Thank you so much. Jackie, did it work out for you? I don't know. She's on mute.
Doesn't look like she's on mute, but she may have stepped away.
Just
Erica, I want to talk to you. Do you have a few minutes or maybe a little later?
No, we could talk.
Okay, I can stay here.
Yeah, I was also trying to introduce myself to Yane because I was just with Nini a couple days ago, and he's like, "You meet?" I was like, "I know we are in a lot of spaces with each other and email each other, but we haven't formally met." So
Nini, that's my boo. That's my DC girlfriend.
I mean, that's kind of my DC girlfriend, but I can see how we can share that.
Yeah, that's my boo.